There is an island, just 160 kilometers from the coast of Florida, smaller than many US states, 11 million people. That island has survived under one regime for 66 years, survived 11 US presidents, survived embargoes, sanctions, and isolation. But in 2026, everything has changed. And in this video, I will explain why Cuba will collapse this year. This is not a prediction. This is an analysis of every piece of the puzzle. Look at this map. Cuba sits at the entrance to the Gulf of Mexico, 160 kilometers from Key West, Florida, closer than many major cities are to each other. Its geographic position is everything. To the north, the United States. To the east, Haiti and the Dominican Republic. To the south, Jamaica and Colombia. To the west, Mexico. Cuba sits in a complete encirclement. No access route exists that does not pass through US influence. This is why no one can come to save Cuba. Not Russia, not China. To understand why Cuba collapses in 2026, you need to understand the history of its relationship with America. 1898. The US helped Cuba break free from Spain, but then controlled Cuba like a colony. American companies owned 70% of Cuban agricultural land. Cubans worked as laborers on their own soil. 1959. Fidel Castro overthrew the Batista government, nationalized all American assets. The US imposed an embargo immediately. No buying, no selling, no transactions, for 64 years straight. 1961. Bay of Pigs. The CIA trained 1,400 Cuban exiles. They landed in Cuba. Complete failure. Kennedy took full responsibility, but that wound never healed. 1962. The Cuban Missile Crisis. 13 days, the world stood on the edge of nuclear war. The Soviets withdrew their missiles. The US promised not to invade Cuba. Since then, 64 years of isolation. Cuba survived on Soviet support until the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, then survived on Venezuelan oil until Maduro fell in 2025. And now, there is no one left to lean on. Many people ask, Cuba has struggled for a long time. Why is 2026 different? The answer is, this time, Cuba lost everything at once. First, oil. Venezuela pumped 35,000 barrels of oil per day into Cuba, almost for free, for 20 years. March 2025, Maduro was arrested. The pipeline shut down immediately. Cuba has no replacement oil source. The entire power grid collapsed. Second, foreign currency. 2 million Cubans live in the United States. They send home $3 to $4 billion every year. That is Cuba's largest source of foreign currency. February 2026, Trump blocked it completely. Not a single dollar can enter Cuba. Third, food. No oil means no electricity. No electricity means no water pumps, no irrigation. No irrigation means agriculture collapses. Supermarket shelves are empty. People line up from 4 in the morning. This is not ordinary hardship. This is systematic collapse. Each piece deliberately removed. And the man removing each piece? His name is Rubio. Now, who can actually save Cuba? Russia. Russia is bogged down in Ukraine. Its economy is heavily sanctioned. And most importantly, how do you deliver oil, food, weapons to Cuba when you must cross the Atlantic under complete US Navy control? Operation Southern Spear has already seized 10 oil tankers. Russia knows this. China. China has economic interests in Cuba, but small ones. not enough to sacrifice its trade relationship with the US worth $600 billion annually. China will not save Cuba. Venezuela, Nicaragua, Bolivia, they are busy trying to save themselves. Cuba is completely isolated, 160 kilometers from Florida. No one can reach this island without the US detecting and stopping. On paper, Díaz-Canel is Cuba's president. But where does real power lie? GAESA, Cuba's military conglomerate, controls the entire economy. Hotels, airports, banks, all imports and exports, $18 billion in assets. And the Castro family. Alejandro Castro Espín, son of Raúl Castro, nephew of Fidel Castro, head of Cuban intelligence, the man who actually controls the security apparatus. This is why the US is negotiating directly with the Castro family, not with Díaz-Canel. Díaz-Canel is the front. The Castros and GAESA are the decision makers, and they are looking at $18 billion in assets, wondering if there is any way to keep it. And finally, why is 2026 the decisive year? March 2026, Emerson College poll, Republican primary. Vance 52%, Rubio 20%. But 6 months ago, Rubio was at just 4%. Every successful geopolitical move, Rubio gains more points. Kalshi, America's largest prediction market. Rubio climbed from 7% to 27% in just 6 months. Rubio knows exactly what this means. Cuba is not just a mission. Cuba is the ticket to the White House. But the deadline is mid-2027, before the primary season begins. After that, all attention shifts to the campaign. No time left for geopolitics. Therefore, everything must be decided in 2026. Cuba has no electricity, no oil, no foreign currency. People are in the streets. GAESA is calculating. The Castro family is negotiating with Washington. And Rubio is sitting and waiting for the final phone call. This game only has a few moves left.